Good morning, good morning, good morning. What a great day to be alive. What a great day to be a Christian, man. I'm telling you. Beautiful, beautiful. Right here, we coming out of Psalms 46, chapter 1. 46 chapter, verse 1. And it said, God is our refuge and strength, a very pleasant help in trouble. A very present help in trouble. Therefore will not we fear, though the earth be removed, and though the mountains be carried into the midst of the sea. Inspiration. God the Almighty does not leave the side of his children. If they love him, then his word or promise will never be broken. He failed not, nor or Moses, and he fulfilled his prophecy to us by sending us the Messiah. The sea might swallow the mountains as it did in Noah's time, but all of his children will remain safe, and we'll see on the horizon the dove of peace, extending out an olive branch to all who share in his covenant. Prayer. Lord, my Father, who shed the light of divine grace upon all his followers, hear my prayer of wonder and love. For your presence stays with us, Lord, in a sacred promise extended to all who strive with you. Lead us not into fear or ever any doubt that we are lost or without your blessing. All this I ask in Jesus' name. Amen. I tell you, man, in all things, you know, I pray to God with me. And I was talking to a brother the other day, and he's seen, first of all, he's seen the difference. He's seen the difference, first of all, of when I first came here, you know, I wasn't fully, and I stress this, man, and I know it's a lot of people that want to contest it, you know, fully devoted to him, mind, body, and soul, because man is all thoughts of him, body is no contaminating the body, trying your best to keep it healthy, by all means, and soul, which is the heart, you know what I mean, keeping it on him. And see, the thing is, the man can be convinced, and then the body will fall behind. But a lot of the times, it takes a lot for the heart to sway. Because what you have inside of there is the basis of what motivates you to anything. That's why God searcheth the heart, you know. So, and I understand us saints, man, because he searcheth the heart, then he knows that we are fully convinced that Jesus Christ is Lord, that he had died and risen, and he's the Son of God. Fully convinced. That's why it says the war and the battle with the flesh never ceases. What is the flesh? Your five senses. It is a fact, scientific, spiritual. It's a fact that if nothing touches your five senses, you cannot crave it. But what are the odds of that? With social media, with TV, with just being outside and talking to people, and the eyes is the window to the soul. you know Now, because of you, it came across you, then you have a chance of craving with something that you never touched before, just because you heard it. You crave for something that you've seen before, just because you've seen it. You know, you crave for something that you taste before because you have tasted, touched it. You know, those are the things. And then, like, it's crazy because it, in like people, we are, me too, will indulge in things that are try to teach us how to get more money or to have a better social status and things like that. And one of the things it said was, test drive a car, right? Put that steering wheel in your hand, feel it, because there's a good chance when you do that, you would obtain it. Because now you will crave it, because you know what it feels like. You know what the leather smells like. You know what the wood feels like in your hand of the car or whatever. In a home, the same thing. Now, the thing is, Jesus, once you have felt his presence, it's a craving. It felt his presence. That and that's why when I say I think I've been called, and it really, I'm gonna stop saying I think I have, because, and really what it is because other people have cast doubt in the calling, the visions that he showed me, you know, and of being a preacher. Now, well, my visions, I can interpret that as being a preacher, but honestly, it just was a man of power that was speaking to the masses. And it's crazy because honestly, my vision wasn't talking to people in pews. My vision was talking to people that were in suits. And it looked like men of power. It looked like men that were, and that's where I was. And I will tell it. It was a vision, it still is. It was a vision of, I was standing behind, uh, the curtain was like massive, you know, all the way up to the top, and it was all the way to the bottom, and it was a thick, real thick curtain. And then I had a group of people behind me that were in suits, and then they said, "Are you ready, Mosley?" I was like, "Yeah." And when I stepped from behind there, there's a glass podium, and when I put my hand up, first everybody was clapping, you know, and honestly, sometimes I see women in there, but majority of the times it's a lot of men of all races and all colors. And when I put my hand up, they start clapping and then they sit down. And then I grab the podium and it cuts right there, right? And so, and I know this for a fact. Whatever I was getting ready to tell them comes from Jesus, comes from God. That I know, because that was sown in my heart. So now the thing is, once that it's in there, so now I crave it. But Satan, the enemy, will cast doubt and fear. Do I fear being in that room now in my state? Yes. Because I feel like I'm truly not prepared. I don't have the education, you know, but I have the promise. I have the vision. That's it. That's all I have, you know. And then it's crazy because it's almost it's almost every story in the Bible of what he's done for men that were average men, and then he made them great or put them in places where they shouldn't be, man. Like we on Joseph now. I mean Joshua, Joseph, one of the two. I, so and being in the Potiphar's house and the Potiphar wife and all of that, all of these things, man. is crazy. Like one time he said, he spoke on, well, just last Sunday, he talked about when he cast him into prison, right? When he cast him into prison, he still made him the head of the prison. You know, the same way he had him head of his house. And this is not for a pat on the back or anything. It's just to show the revelation of how God works in your heart, in your life. You know what I'm saying? When you devote yourself to him, man, and you start doing his work, you know, when you start feeding the masses and you giving out of your own pocket, you know, giving and then make sure you sacrifice your life for this whole thing. And what does that mean? You want to do other things. You want nobody to follow you, and you just want to do whatever you want to do by yourself, you know, but there's people looking and there's people, so you have to sacrifice everything, man, for God's will, man, because it's for them. Nothing's for you. He's going to take care of you. You do what you do. That's just like if somebody, like right now, when I used to talk about the Bible and stuff like that, when I was still smoking and stuff like that. When I talk about the Bible to somebody, they get enlightened. But then as soon as they see me high, it negates everything that I told them. Now I just look false. I look like, and everybody said, well, who cares what? That's Satan talking. Who cares what they think? Yes, you supposed to care. You supposed to look like him at all times, man. All times. That a house built on sand, man, it can't. It got to be deep rooted in cement, dog. Like this, that's what it gotta be. Your daily sacrifice is that. What your kids see, what your significant others see, what your work friends see, what anybody see at a store, anything, they should always see the light of Jesus all the time. All the time. And Jesus won't running around drunk. He won't running around high. You know, he wasn't like that, dog. He came in those places holy and pure, and he gave fire. So that's what you're supposed to give. And the crazy thing about it, when I was in jail, right? I never forget. And for those in Richmond understand, it was a dude called the Colonel. He called himself the Colonel, where he was the Colonel in the jail, right? And everybody feared him for real because he didn't even raise his voice. You looked at him wrong, you in the hole. If the hole won't enough, he'll send you to a jail that I've been to, you know. And I never forget, I entered into this program, a behavior modification program, and this lady named Sarah Scarborough was the head of it. She came in and she made us residents instead of inmates. Like, she realized that in order to get us to conform or switch, to not treat us like animals, but treat us like human beings and really attack the problem. Because the drug is only 2% of the problem. That's the mood altering substance. But the mood and the person is the whole 98%. How you think, how you see things, and what's sold in your heart. To change that, and then you would change looking at how drugs is for you and how life is for you and everything, right? So I went in there, honestly, I caught a charge, possession with the intent, and for this time they're ready to stick with the intent with me. I'm ready to do, you know, I couldn't pay a lawyer and get it knocked down and all of that. This time they boxed me in. So I'm like, okay, well, I'm gonna go into the program and then get my time reduced, you know. That's just it. But when I went into the program, it was leaders of that program that were telling people to do things that they weren't doing. That's the number one way to lose your followers. Once they realize whatever you're preaching and whatever you're talking about, once they find out that you're not doing that, you have lost them. I'm talking about even in your household, your significant others. Once you preach one thing and they realize that you're not doing it, you're going to lose them. So I said, oh, my God, which one we going to do? We either going to check off and go to the jungle because we know we can survive there. We know we can. Or we're going to stick with this and take over this and show people how to be what they supposed to be as in leadership. And I stuck. God said, look, this is what we gonna do. And then I said, well, how we gonna do it? I said, because I'm not one of them police people that's gonna be policing nobody, telling on people. He said, you don't even have to do that. All you got to do is do the rules exactly how they told you to do the rules. Because the rules is just to modify character. So I did the pack work. I did the, and then they said, and another thing, whenever they call on you to do anything, to talk in front of the news people, to talk in front of the people, don't clam up, do it. If they ask you to be the head of something, do it. So, first thing I did all the rules and I was doing that. And then at first I wouldn't even talk in the groups. And participation is a must, is what they said. And I was trying to figure out ways that I'm not going to participate. I'm not talking about myself. I'm not doing none of that. So I opened up. I started talking. And they started marveling at what I was saying because I don't look like what I was saying. So then it's like, okay, well, no, he got a little intelligence, so he not just a fully project dude that just sold drugs and killing everybody by selling his drugs. And he's not just that. And then come to find out, I come from a home where I come from, I do come from a home with a mother and a father. They was in two different homes, but my father was ever present. And not only was he present, a strong Christian in the Lord, dedicated fully, to Jesus Christ. So, boom, now that starts to work. Then I became the leader of my little group. We switched the name, called the Wolf Pack. At first, it was just group 1, group 2. I switched that. And then honestly, no, through God, that happens. So then, but my pack was full of what we call nowadays the YNs. So we was the Wolf Pack, and then we modified it a little. Then you had the older people like, man, they starting to play a game with recovery, and this is not what it. That's the older people, and that's how they wanted to do it. But they started to go along with it because I made it fun to be in recovery for younger adults, right? So boom, then that gained a recognition to Sarah Scarborough, because eventually that goes to her. All right, well, what's going on today? Well, Pavel Mosley done changed it. Now they actually went in there to get it changed back, but when she heard of it, it was like, okay, wait, I can see that. I like that. So then she started to implement it in different pods, because it was like 3 pods that we was in, roughly around 75 people to a pod, 75 to 100 to a pod, right? So boom, that happened like that. And then when it came to a nominee of head leadership, because it was like 6, it had dwindled down because people are getting caught. It was like 3 now. So of course, when it, no, we don't want Pavel. At number 1, they tried to get me to step down. They was doing everything, I'm telling you, everything to try to get me to step down from leadership of the Wolf Pack and everything, to the point that they even came up with something. I can't even remember. I would take sick days. Sick days is what you would do is if you say, today I'm sick. That means I don't want to do no groups. I just stay. And then they made a rule. If you do that, then you got to stay in your cell all day long, 24 hours. 24 hours. That's what a sick day is. And then you can't read, because I read my Bible. I just go in there and read my Bible all day. So they made up a rule that you couldn't even read. No magazines. That's what they try to say. No books, no magazines and stuff. They didn't put Bible, but that's a book. So they even went to that limb. But I would still take them. Because honestly, leading, I believe that God made the Sabbath for a reason. 6 days of work dealing with people. He did it for creating the world. Now think about that. We don't even create the world, let alone a building or a house by ourselves. You know what I'm saying? But I'm pretty sure at working by myself, building a house, I would like to take the 7th day off, man, because that's work. So, but mentally, I had to refresh. So every 6 days, man, I would take one. So then they came up with a rule that leadership can't take sick days back to back. Where you can't take sick days, like more than 3 a month, because you got to participate. Cool. I would take them once a week, and then the last week I wouldn't take. So then they came up with some kind of way, look, you got to go. Because you just being defiant, you just keep taking these sick days, because you just, So they had me pack my stuff up, right? Man, them young people went crazy. They went crazy so much. Look, the receipts, I'm telling you, this is not something I'm saying. This is real. They went crazy to the point that those people came to me and said, unpack my stuff and put it back. So then after that, when seeing that type of so Sarah became even more enthused, and so then the news came through, and then who want to tell their story to the news, and then she had some people of power. She had some people. She had uh uh Johnny U Crops. U Crops is a major grocery store over the East Coast. Johnny U Crops in there. She had the wife of Robinson Pharmaceuticals. She had somebody else was in there. Tall Hammer. They Tall Hammer was a major store, but now they do lids and other clothing things and other stores and stuff like that. Now she had Tall Hammer in there, and like 6 more people that were like that, and she wanted 3 people to come talk to them. So once again, I did not want to go in there and talk to them. God said, listen, you know what you said and know what we said. This is what we're going to do. So I went in there and I told my story in there. So now that gives me the introduction to being one of the leaders of the program. See, I didn't have to tell on people. And this the crazy thing about it. I would never tell on a person for them not doing something wrong. What I would do is tell them myself. Look, put your foot down. Get your feet up. That's not how we're supposed to do that. So now, why did they listen to me? Because they would never see my feet on the chair, or they would never see me manipulating the phone line, or we've had this thing called dope fiend larceny. Well, it was DFL, dope fiend. DFL. Don't be DFLing. What that is whenever you wanted you didn't do delayed gratification. You wanted instant gratification, meaning cutting the line, getting 2 trays when you're only supposed to get 1. So, and you use a cunning app we use called the dope fiend larceny. If they never seen that in me, then they were more prone to do what I asked them to do. Then not only that, I would feed them. Everybody that did not go to the store on grocery day, canteen day, I would make a huge feast out of my own bag and feed all of them. Now, what does that do? Now you're not just a person reigning with an iron fist. You are a person that take care of us, so we would listen to you. And you're not doing what you said. You're not doing what you're telling us not to do. So that's what made me get into that position. To the point that when I was in that position, they called me in the office because they had a understanding that if you are a leader that everybody likes, they even say that to this day. If you are a leader that everybody likes, something's wrong. Something is wrong. But they were getting notes, because they used to get notes daily about the leaders, what they not doing, this and that, woo, woo, woo. But the notes that used to come over there about me was everything like, man, we love Pavel. We love how he does what he do. We just, what I'm saying? And it was like, hold on, something is not right. But there was Jesus, because I also did Bible studies, and they would cram into this little room because they didn't want us out there, because everybody has different religions. They even said that God means good orderly direction instead of God himself. So it was a lot of things that was going against what I was doing, but Jesus was prevailing. Well, now let me I took you all the way around that road, but it took me to this point where now they gave me and other leaders that were like me so much power that we could go to the desk. And for people to understand the jail now, Richmond City Jail, you can't leave that pod for nothing, not less medical call you, or a court. No going from one tier to another tier because you could be transporting drugs. You could be, because that was a major thing in there. Drugs could go from one thing. So that's why people like to be on the green team, because the green team was the people that clean up. You had to be like a level 1 to do that, to clean up on the joints, because now you get to go to different tiers and different floors and stuff like that. But they gave us basically the power of the green team. So I could just go to the desk and say, listen, I'm going to the second floor, and then they'd be like, okay, Mosley, open the door. I go out there. Nobody was allowed to touch the button to the elevator to go down. Up, down, however. I go out there, and it's this moment where the colonel is standing at the elevator, where he's standing at the podium talking to one of the deputies, and then I come out. I walk over to the elevator and push the button. Bang. The colonel turned around and looked at and turned around. He said, now get this now. He ain't called me inmate. He said, Pavel, who gave you the authority to touch that? I said, well, what we have in place is when you go to the second floor, that's where the people that were strung out on drugs recovery. That's the recovery tier. So what we have came up with is to catch them before they even come to the pod. Go down there, talk to them, and get them to understand that there's a pod, man, where after your recovery, after you kick your 3 days or 4 or 5 days from heroin use, coke use, however it is, we have a place where you can come and get taken care of, man, and get restored. So that's where I'm going. He said, so do Woody know about this? I said, well, to my understanding, he does. So Colonel is the only other person under Woody, and then there's Sarah. So when I pushed that button, I still proceeded to get on the elevator, and he just watched me walk on there. And then, yes, did he try everything to stop that? Because to them, that's a security breach. Because in his head, we are still inmates. But that program and Woody, we are residents. There's a difference. So I cannot just, and all of these was implemented. These are the ideas that, I had. Like, why don't we go down there and catch them for, you know what, Pavel, that's a good, it came to that. That's a good idea. Well, why don't we do that? Well, that's a good idea. Then it wasn't heard of us being on work release. Down to your 2 years, then you were eligible through the program for work release. We were the first people to get on work release. So now, not only do we have the power to push the button and go to another tier, we have a power to push the button, go down, and go outside. Go to the other building and then go to work outside. So come in there, then come back into the building. Man, are we inmates at this point? And all of that through Jesus. All of that through Jesus. To be honest, man, it was mind-blowing. It was a statement that was made that was mind-blowing. So we didn't even eat the same food. We didn't, none of that. Well, that's just a little piece of, because it's a lot. It's like, there is more than so many times turning an enemy to my friend, because but when Jesus is in my heart, like it is now, it's like he always been. Like, my aim is never to make an enemy, because I have a full understanding that if I give you Jesus' love, it's impossible for you to be an enemy of mine. I don't care if you set out to be one. If you're not a devil worshiper, like all praises to Satan, then it's a good chance I'm gonna make you a friend. It's a great chance I'm gonna make you a friend. So That's where I'm at, man. I normally don't talk that long, 30 minutes, but it's just come for anyone that wants to feel this feeling. First, get rid of everything. Dedicate your life all the way to Jesus Christ. I don't care what people call his name or do it. Jesus Christ. Dedicate and watch the power. Because anybody can obtain things in this world, because the world is, Satan rules this world right now. You can obtain things, just go get your loans and get your little businesses and all of that stuff now. But once Jesus is in your heart, then that transforms to whatever you can obtain to how much you can give. Give. Without that person don't deserve this. No, because he could get up and work on his own. Or that, no. No respect of person. Give. Who cares what they do with it? I gave dude $1. He said, man, listen, I'm gonna take this and go get something to eat. I said, dude, I don't care what you do with $1. Jesus told me to get that to you. He immediately did a about face and went the other way. Who cares? Who cares? You know, because one thing that happened was the statement of Jesus gave this to you. So what he does with that $1 now is already set for Jesus to start teaching them, Jesus to start showing them, you know. So I'm going to keep making these as long as God is not mad at me. In Jesus' name I pray, amen.